Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats today, and we're talking with Rachel Hickey. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Tom.
We're here to talk about you, your music, and for those who might be new to you, can you give a little brief intro about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Rachel Hickey. I'm a Toronto-based singer-songwriter, folk rock kind of musician. Although I was born and raised in Woodstock, Ontario, so we've got that small town Ontario gal in me. Then I went to Kitchener-Waterloo for school, spent a good chunk of time there, and yeah, now I moved out to GTA so I could get closer to the action in Toronto and try to expand a little bit that way. But I started recording music in 2021, and I just recently released the first single for my upcoming album coming out later in the summer um, last week. So yeah, I have two EPs out and just keeping on working on that recording and stuff. Yeah.
So how'd you get into music? Like musical family, just love of it?
Yeah. Ever since I was small, I was like obsessed with music. And it's interesting because like my family is like, I'm the only one in my family who kind of pursued music in that way. Although there was always music playing around the house, it was either like contemporary Christian or classic rock blaring, like always. There was always music going on, or Enya. And then you knew that my dad was, like in some sort of a mood because Enya was playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I grew up in the church, so that was kind of my intro to music and lots of encouragement from cute little old ladies in church and stuff like that. So they were definitely kind of the starting point for me, and yeah, just singing there and in choir. And then my mom is an elementary school teacher, so she's very into activities, and I have
hmm
three brothers, so she would always have us kind of collaborate on little made up songs for family events and stuff like that. We would get up in front of our family and do like actions and sing parodies to songs for special occasions. I loved it. I like you'll find pictures, or I have pictures of me just like beaming, and my brothers are like,
Yeah.
so I absolutely loved it from a young age, and yeah, eventually started picking up after begging my mom for piano lessons. She let me have piano lessons when I was about third grade, and kind of went from there.
What was your first introduction to like mainstream music that really hit you?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, because yeah, growing up, it was those like two genres, and I think it was probably Kobe Calais, like bubbly,
Mhm.
like or Taylor Swift, ours. I think actually that's a lie. I think the first CD that I bought for myself was Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood.
Okay.
And before that, actually, I got the Ali and AJ CD from the library, from the
hmm
Woodstock Public Library, and I just would play that all the time. The CD player was like my escape. And then and of course Shania Twain, huge
Gotta have
Shania
Shania,
Twain.
yeah.
That was I think the first like holy crap, like my dad got the DVD for me, and I just like, oh my
hmm
gosh, like that. I think that was like the first like click for little Rachel's brain.
I mean, those are some pretty good names to click on for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just released I think it's High is the new single. Is that's what I have on my
Hmm.
notes here?
Yes.
How's that been so far? It's been a few days now and it's been
Mm.
going well, I assume, and received well.
Yeah, yeah. So far, I've been getting lots of great feedback, mostly just, yeah, from my followers on Instagram and friends and family. My following is still in the small zone. So it's like kind of interesting because I get to hear a lot of personal kind of accounts from people, and like people who have seen me kind of grow up and like heard my music before and be like, wow, this is the best you've ever done, Rachel. Like, so excited for you, like that kind of thing. So, and I agree. I'm like, I think this is a great evolution from, yeah, previous releases, and I'm excited for kind of what's to come out of this one. It's a bit of a shift for me with this single.
How do you think your sound has evolved from some of your earlier stuff?
I think it's I'm kind of honing in a bit more. I've been kind of bouncing around trying some different things. At first, it's always been around in like the singer songwriter folk kind of zone. Um, but now I'm bringing in a lot more like driving rhythms and like synths and like kind of going away from just like, classic drums based guitar, acoustic, that kind of stuff. And just having a bit of a, I guess it's all kind of has like a bit of a darker tinge to it. But yeah, I think this is like definitely more energetic and powerful than some other stuff. And like the way I think about it is I was like, I started writing for like these releases right kind of when the pandemic hit. So I was like a genuine sad girl. Like I was going
Hmm.
through like a breakup and I had just graduated university and like there was all these things going on. And so I was writing these kind of somber, slower, sadder kind of songs. But now that I'm out of it, I'm like, I'm tired of being a sad girl. Like I'm going back to my roots. I want to kind of rock out a bit. And yeah, so that's kind of how it's evolving.
Yeah, so when I get the emails in my box, the first thing is I listen to the single just so or whatever project, and I was vibing with it, and I was like, okay. So then I start reading a little bit more, and that's kind of how I build my interviews, because by no
Mhm.
means am I a hardcore journalist of let's go dig up some of the crazy things, but I like to
Yeah.
get to know a little bit more about you, anyways.
Totally.
So you've performed a few times and had a few songs out. Is there a particular moment that is more memorable to you, especially because some of your shows are a little bit more intimate?
Yeah. I think recently, like throughout kind of the winter, I did a whole kind of series of cozy shows, I called them, and I kind of planned my own tour because I realized that as an independent musician, if you want to get something done, sometimes you just got to do it yourself. So
Hmm.
I was like, kind of like getting caught up in like some of those like Toronto gigs where it's like three bands and like one night till 1 a.m. and like people are talking and stuff. And like I think my music is very like storytelling based and like I love to have like an intimate connection with people. So I started planning these little shows and like just I think the moment that I'm like holding on to and like been like, wow, this has been like a growing moment is just being able to like really connect with people and like seeing people who have come out to the full band shows coming to these like cozy shows and like talking to me after and being like, oh, like I went through a breakup and this really helped me or like stuff like that. I just like I feel most like myself in those kinds of situations where yeah, I can be really connected with a small group, but hopefully you can scale that to a bigger size and still kind of feel that connection sometime. Yeah, down the road. That's the goal.
I definitely think your sound and your and the vibe that you get from your music can escalate that way. There's a lot of artists out there now that are starting to go a little bit more of that style, and it's seems to be doing pretty well that I've seen, anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there well, so what do you think distinguishes yourself above someone else potentially, though? There's a lot of music out there these days, and
Oh, yeah.
everyone needs to have their own little thing. So what's your little thing?
I think, yeah, I've been trying to figure this out as an artist as I've been developing. And just based on like feedback that I've been getting and stuff, I think that what kind of sets me apart is just like the honesty and like kind of rawness and vulnerability that I put into my songs because usually they're for me first and like for me to like work through something difficult that I'm going through and I put that in a song and then I like send it out to the world and it becomes theirs. So I think yeah, I think the lyrics and like the raw like emotion is one thing and then in the live performances like I have an ability to connect with people on a deeper level and like people will come up and like people will just want to give me a hug after the show. I'm like, I don't know you, but okay. Like
Hmm.
so it's that emotional connection and I think that's kind of my goal as an artist is like to really bring kind of build those like safe kind of community spaces so people can really feel and like kind of feel through things through the music. I've always had like a very emotional connection to music. Maybe it's because I like grew up with music in the church and there was or like some sort of feeling. I would like sit in my room and listen to like Avril Lavigne and like stare at my lava lamp and like cry. And I've never been through heartbreak. I'm like 8 years old. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've always had this very like empathetic connection to music. So I kind of want to share that.
Hmm. Now, do you find it hard to balance putting too much of yourself into your music and maybe keeping that safe space for yourself, or are you just someone who throws it all out there, see how it goes?
Yeah. Oh man, it's a process. I think. I definitely I need to be aware of like oversharing with my audience too, because I don't want to like accidentally traumatize people. I like we finish like a heartbreaking song and then you kind of look up and you're like smiling and everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm like, I'm okay now. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think there's something some definitely when I've like written something, it takes me a little bit to be like, I'm going to share this like live with people and like see like what's gonna happen. I've like bared my soul. But I've so far been getting some good show that you can be strong while being vulnerable. And it's like it's kind of a pep talk for myself. I'm like, you can be strong while being vulnerable. And if I can try to do that, then maybe it'll help others too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully they take something from your music and it speaks to
Hmm.
them in a certain way. I think that's kind of every musician's goal is
Yeah.
someone understanding something in themselves.
Definitely. And not just taking like, because I can be very like direct and like sharing like these vulnerable things. Like I don't want people, I want them to take their own meaning and,
Have you
reflect
ever
on
had like
their
a
own.
yeah, have you ever had a weird interaction where someone comes up to you and be like, "Oh, did the song mean this?" And you're thinking like, "Oh my, what what happened here?"
What happened here? Oh man. No, I don't. People are pretty, they connect on it like pretty similar, like, oh, like break up or like I'm a people pleaser too, or like that kind of
Hmm.
thing. I have one song that's like not about me and it's like a story based on a story somebody told me. And people will come, is that real? Like you can tell me, like, is it real? I'm like, it's a true story. And they're like, yeah, way. Yeah. So uh I
That's
like
always fun.
yeah, that's fun. They're like, "Is it just an act?" I'm like, "No, man, nothing is an act here. Like, this is
Hmm.
really, really all it is." But
Do you have any I'm assuming you've gone through some hurdles when you're writing a song. Do you have like a one that kind of jumps out and how you got over it a bit? Because I know everyone likes to get those kind of thoughts of just an extra way to overcome something.
yeah, as in like songwriting process and like a
Yeah, just
song
when you're
that,
putting it together and it's just like, oh my God,
mhm.
this is a great idea, but it's just not going anywhere.
Mm, yeah, I've definitely had that experience, like, and like just like had to set it aside for a bit. I think on like I'm trying to think of a more recent example, but on my first EP, the first song called Getting By, it came like pretty close, pretty like quickly, like lyrically and like that kind of thing. But I was just learning how to play guitar. Like I've done everything, like I'm like learning as I go, like just going for it, even though I'm not a professional, whatever, just like jumping in. So, um, like building the arrangement for that one was definitely a process. Like I brought it to like my friends who played like instruments in it. We tried to do a band and we couldn't figure out what the tempo would be. And we're like, what if we speed up the click halfway through and like just tried these like crazy things. And I ended up just saying, I just ended up kind of scrapping it and then going into the studio with just me and my producer. And we just kind of stripped it totally back. And then that was the only song on kind of that EP that I really like took control of the arrangement, and it's one of my favorites for that reason, and also just kind of the way it turned out. It's just very like organic. There's like claps and snaps, and like we stomped on a board and then like what is that? What is a basement? I was gonna call it a dungeon. I'm like, that's really not the right word.
I mean,
The words
basements
escape
sometimes
you.
feel like dungeons, so
Yeah, so it just felt like I loved that experimental kind of process and it brought kind of new life to the song that I thought I'm like, oh, we have to cut it. It's not working. But then we just kind of tried something different and it worked out. So
yeah, that's nice when something comes together unexpectedly when you're
yeah.
sitting there looking at it like, oh God, this isn't doing anything.
Yeah, or like this is never gonna land. People aren't gonna like it. And then it ends up being like the most like popular or well received one. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
The music industry is an interesting these days, especially coming out of COVID and what people like. And personally, I think it's a little oversaturated and there's too much out
Yeah,
there.
I agree. Yeah.
But so you're someone who's coming in a little bit into the digital age of music versus the grinding and having to sell CDs on the side of the road kind of thing.
Hmm.
What do you think is the difference in, or how the music industry has evolved from just that, from your perspective?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of what you were just saying. It's like very saturated. There's like I think there's a lot of pressure to fit into like a perfect box. And like you have to have like a niche and an angle to sell on TikTok. And like, like I have like TikTok and I'm like, trying to grow my audience there. And I've had like one moment where I posted something and people commented and they came to my show in Toronto. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
you're a stranger and you're coming to someone's random house. Like, are you Jen, you're crazy.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the way the industry has changed, it's not just you like I've recently been watching Daisy Jones and the Six. I don't know if you watched the
Yeah.
Amazon series. And it's like in the 70s and they just like they move to LA and they play in a bar and then they get a run in and then they get signed and then they're cutting a record. It's not like that anymore. It's like you have to have a very strong presence before anyone might consider like investing in you. So you really have to do a lot of it yourself. So I think that's kind of the main difference and challenge as an independent artist these days. But it's kind of a fun kind of puzzle to figure out. Like, how do I do this? How do I get a gig? Who do I talk to? How do I, yeah. So you just kind of keep answering those questions and talking to people and figuring it out as you go along. But you're the marketer, you're the publicist, you're the, yeah, how it goes.
It's a business now instead of just being an artist. Sometimes you have to either have people around you or you have to put on a few different hats just to make sure people can find you these days.
Yeah, definitely.
And then trying to stand out in the world. I know that just who knows what people like anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it's always changing and like something will like go viral and you're like, okay, like how did that
Hmm.
happen? And then yeah, it's hard to predict sometimes, but I don't know. I feel like people maybe they're similar to kind of how I feel as like a songwriter. Like I was a sad girl. I'm ready to be kind of like, let's go. I feel like people are moving in that direction. They want more energy, or maybe they're like drawn to like more nostalgic. Like I feel like there's gonna be that like Fleetwood Mac revival. Like, I feel like that's coming. Maybe I'm totally off, but I feel like some like rage and rock is maybe coming. I hope. I would love that.
I think so too. Like we're
Mhm.
coming into spring now, so people are starting. The
Mhm.
energy's picking up a little bit more, and the moods
Yes.
are picking up more, and festival season starting. So
Ooh,
that's going to
yeah.
be interesting for sure.
Mhm.
Are you playing any festivals at all this spring summer?
I've applied to a bunch. I'm really hoping that they pull through. So far, the one that has been confirmed is Springtide in June in Uxbridge, Ontario. So
Okay.
if it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, Springtide. Come check me out on this Saturday. I think it's June 10th. But yeah, so far that's the one. I'm hoping some more kind of pull through. But yeah, I'm excited for the summer. So
Hmm.
excited for the summer.
Yeah, I'm based in Ottawa, so we got a couple
Oh,
going on
nice.
here, and I
Yeah.
think I'm supposed to be covering Boots and Hearts and Metro this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh,
Also,
nice.
so it'll be
Yeah,
an interesting combination.
I've heard a lot about the Ottawa music scene. It seems like really like close knit and like people. I went to Ottawa a couple weekends ago, and people just seem to be like hardcore fans and for the local bands. Just kind of like full send. Maybe that's just speculation, but yeah.
No, I mean there's definitely that scene, but I find it hit or miss sometimes. You get the clicks and the little kind of group that are
Mm,
down for each other the whole time, but then you might never hear from someone from that group if you're not in that group. So
yeah, yeah,
it's a little all over the place, and we lost a few venues during COVID, so it makes it harder for these local
yeah.
guys to get out there and do stuff. So,
Definitely tough. Same with Kitchener Waterloo. Definitely that challenge there. But
hmm.
yeah.
Is there any artists that are out there maybe going out this summer that you're looking forward to potentially checking out? I know everyone has their favorites.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I am very excited. In May, I'm going down to Nashville and I'm going to see Phoebe Bridgers and Taylor Swift, and I'm going to melt in a puddle of all my bodily fluids. Like it's like I'm literally gonna die. Like,
Hmm.
so that's what I'm really looking forward to. And then I would love to go to Boots and Hearts because Shania is gonna be there, and like I think Julia Jacqueline always. I'm like really.
Shania was last year. She's not there this year.
She's not. She's not coming to Boots and Hearts this year.
She's coming to Ottawa
I
this
thought
year
she.
though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's at the
for
Blues
what's the
Fest
thing?
this year.
Oh, Boots. I mixed them up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was thinking Blues Fest, but I said Boots and Heart. Okay,
Hmm.
yes, Blues Fest. I would love to be at Blues Fest. And yeah, just try to check out as many artists as I can while also trying to play shows. The worst thing about musicians is like I have a lot of musicians friends. I'm like, want to come out to this show? And they're like, I'm already playing. I'm like, okay, sorry. Like,
Hmm.
so yeah, hopefully I can be able to catch a bunch.
Yeah, that would make it interesting, I guess, trying to balance both of those, just
Yeah,
supporting friends and then also supporting yourself.
yeah, yep, for sure.
Hmm. Look at my notes here. I lost my
Mhm.
page for a second. So,
Mhm.
I do have a couple questions, which you might have seen some of them in if you looked at other videos that I like to ask everybody. And
Mhm.
first one on my list is always, what's something on your go-to playlist that people might not expect you're listening to these days?
I've been recently like if I need to get in like the groove to like work hard, I've been listening to like a lot of like not emo, like definitely like more driving like rock music. What's the band? I've been listening to them like literally nonstop. Let me look at my on repeat
Mhm.
playlist. I think they're called Bad Nerves.
Okay, I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, it's just
Sounds
like really
familiar.
like fast, like kind of yeah, indie emo kind of music. And like some Deftones and some just like I'll go back to like my dad's rock and roll sometimes. Embarrassingly, I've just been listening to the Daisy Jones like the cast of this week or this morning today. I don't know. And then I started listening to Fleetwood Mac. I don't know. I'm honestly all over the place. I've been kind of getting out of that like only listening to Phoebe Bridgers era,
Hmm.
and trying to yeah diversify and get some more upbeats, driving kind of music. So yeah, I think recently I've been yeah a lot of that kind of stuff. Julia Jacqueline has been another one that I've been listening to a lot, and Wet Leg, a lot of Wet Leg. Really love Wet Leg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I'm going all over the place recently, and I mean, I've even got one of my favorite songs. Trying to find it right now, called "When You're" by Computer Jimmy, and he plays. It's like a mix of a tenor sort of party thing with some pop music. And it's yeah,
Oh,
it's it's fun
nice.
actually.
I totally missed the name because it cut out a little bit
Oh,
when you said it.
it's called "When You Roar" by the Dark Tenor.
Okay, sweet. I'm gonna check that out
Yeah,
after this.
it's been kind of my jam the last couple of days. Just I put it
Nice.
on and it's gets you that energy and it's got a cool story behind it and just the music
Cool.
itself almost makes you think of a musical.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I dig that. I dig that.
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean I love a good song. Doesn't matter what it is. If I find something interesting and
Exactly.
it goes on to my main playlist for sure.
Sweet.
Now, one of my writers loves to ask this question completely off the topic of music, which is always a fun debate question,
Okay.
is do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
Oh my gosh. This is a great question.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say I've never had a solid stance on this debate, but I have heard it so many times.
Hmm.
Mm, I'm going to say no. I don't know. It just feels separate to me. I know it's like between bread and it's like, you got meat and condiments and whatnot, but it just doesn't feel like a sandwich to me. It's got to be something that I don't really have a good argument for it, but just based on vibes alone, not a sandwich.
No, I like that. It's always fun because nobody can put a solid stance on it. It's always
Right?
I don't know. This is why I think this, and but then it's never 100% because you start thinking of something else. You're like, oh my god, what about
Right?
this? What about this?
Yeah. What about a sub? Is
That's it. Yeah,
is
sandwich
that a
is the
sandwich? Yeah.
same type of bread and everything, but bigger.
Right. Yeah.
So another question I have actually is a good one is you're fairly new in the industry and you've probably had, a few people around you giving you tidbits of advice. What's something that's stood out for you that you really think is going to you well?
I think the first thing that comes to mind that is probably the best advice that I've gotten as kind of a new artist is um, kind of when you're just starting out before you've kind of released anything and you're like kind of nervous about how it will be perceived or like, is this my best? Like, artists can often get caught in that perfectionist loop and then end up never releasing anything. But I think this advice that I got when I was just starting really kind of put me ahead of that, is that it was my first producer, his name is Zach Cady. He said, what do you call a body of work that you record and release? What is it? He's like, it's a record. It's just that. It's a record of where you were, what you were doing at that time and space, and that's all it is. It's just a record. And he's like, it doesn't matter what happens after that. If you change what you're doing, if you like evolve, whatever, it's just a record. You can look back on it and say like, oh, that's nice. I'm better now. I'm doing something different now, whatever, but it's there. And it kind of, yeah. So that really stuck with me. And I'm like, anything that you do or put out, or
I
it's just
really
a
like that
record.
one. I
Yeah.
really like that one. That's actually,
Yeah.
that's the first time I've heard it described that way. Like I'm writing that
Yeah.
down so I can make a note for
Sweet.
later here.
Yeah. It's honestly, and I try to tell people that if they're like express anything, it's not even just like music or like art, it's like your job or like whatever you put out there into the world in this, society, it's like, it's just a record. That's all it is.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think too.
Yeah, right.
If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing to keep yourself sane?
Wow, that's a great question. Currently, I'm keeping myself insane by working a full-time job and also pursuing music. So I do digital marketing, which is super exciting. I actually don't mind it. And it's pretty connected to like what I'm trying to do and marketing myself. It's not sexy, that's for sure. I market catheters and farm pesticides. So
Hey, marketing, I know
anyway.
I could use that. I could use marketing in my business for sure. So
Yeah, definitely. So it's been a great skill set to kind of learn, and I get to still be creative, and like I like having the structure and stuff around it. It definitely gets busy because I'm like, 4:30 hits and I take a quick break, and like my 5 to 9 is like working on music and stuff. But I'm like, I'm young, I can do this, like that kind of thing. So I guess if I wasn't doing music, then I would probably honestly, yeah, be doing some sort of corporate job. Like I went to school for psychology and English. Like when I was about to graduate in 2020, I was like doing interviews at like tech companies to do marketing and like that kind of stuff. And then so I honestly like, pandemic sucks, of course, but if it didn't happen, would I have pursued music in the way that I am doing now?
who knows? Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? So yeah.
I'm actually the same way. Like I stopped the day job at 4 o'clock, took a break and took the dogs out, came right
Yep.
back, sat in my office, and now I'm here talking to you.
There you go. All right. You feel me?
I
Yeah.
completely
I'm like,
understand.
my butt is in this chair for so many hours a day. Yeah.
My
Great.
wife gets mad if I'm in here too much, so I have to try to spend my time a little bit differently. But
Yeah.
she's out right now.
Yeah. I definitely need to be reminded to, take a break. I can get into a bit of the workaholic mode a little bit, but it's the grind, I guess. Yeah.
So my last question is always my most important one, and speaks a little bit more about you. Is why music? Why you're doing what you're doing?
Great question. I think it's just always been a pull for me, like to connect. Like I think it comes down to connecting and like community and people. Like yes, it feels awesome to be on a stage and like people are cheering, and like that's the egotistical side of things, but like to really connect with people and like just like open up spaces for conversations and like just like enhance life in some little form. I guess, yeah, like that's why I think I do music, for like giving it to other people. And then for me, it just, I don't know, it feels like some sort of puzzle or code that I'm cracking every time I like write a cool lyric. It's like really fulfilling creatively for me. And like, yeah, just like being able to achieve different like goals and stuff. It feels good for me. And like, I also, yeah, just want to share those stories in music and create those spaces of community and stuff. Sounds super cheesy. But
It's perfect answer though.
yeah, I feel like that's what it really comes down to, is like those connections. Like the fact that people will want to come up after a show that I don't know and give me a hug. I'm like, all right, sweet. Like it
Hmm.
feels cool to be able to create those kind of spaces and make people feel, get in touch with their emotions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now like I said, perfect answer, because it's something that feels good for you. And if you're not liking it, then why are you doing it?
Exactly. Exactly. Why am I working two jobs?
Yeah,
No, it feels
exactly.
good. Yeah.
Well, that's all I have written down. And let's see if there's anything else I could think of with I've got 3 screens going on here.
Nice.
Is there any kind of final tidbits you want to leave to fans that are new or old that are coming to watch this first time?
Yeah. I think we covered a lot of the stuff. Just if you're new, definitely check out my music. I hope I made a good first impression. And yeah, I hope that this continues to grow and you can see me somewhere soon.
We're
Yeah.
definitely going to link all your socials and stuff in the description so people could find you.
Excellent.
And then we're going to keep an eye on new stuff coming out. Like, by all means, send it my way, Instagram, whatever, and we'll do
Perfect.
what we can to help push it out to the world for you.
Amazing. Yeah, there'll be some new songs coming throughout the summer, and then the album will be at the end of the summer. So keep an eye out for those to trickle in.
Perfect. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day. This was a delightful conversation. We're definitely going to have to do this again, catch up
Absolutely.
when you drop the album or something like that, maybe, and
Yeah, yeah.
we'll go from there.
Sounds great. Awesome.
All
All
right.
right.
We'll sign off, and you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, bye.